Today, Joe and I are going to teach you how to change your kitchen sink basket strainer. There are basically three types of basket strainers. You have the easy lock, which this whole mechanism spins. You have the basket strainers that have this large nut. This is our least favorite. This is the basket strainers that we replace most often on clients' homes because when you turn this, it actually can turn this gasket and it'll pinch the gasket, and that's what causes the leaks. These are called cup. You can see how it has a whole cup. It's a cup basket strainer. These are our favorites. The actual cup will push up against the gasket, and then you tighten this nut, and that does not pinch the gasket. So these are our favorite types of basket strainer. This one right here. So now that you've picked out the right basket strainer, you're gonna prep it. So I just like to lay the stopper to the side. We're just gonna take it apart. We're gonna lay the bottom nut over here with the top hat washer. Then you have your nut that pushes up against the basket. We're gonna take that apart, lay it over here. You're gonna take your cup off. You have a paper gasket. It's a friction washer is actually what it's called. Then you have, usually they come with two gaskets, a thick one and a thin one. We throw this thin one away. Directions are going to say put this under here, and you don't have to use plumber's putty, but that's where you have a lot of leaks. That's why we go the old-fashioned way. We throw this away, and we're going to use plumber's putty because it's been around a long time. So you get to open your putty, take you out a little bit of putty, and just do like you did when you were a child and make hot dogs out of Play-Doh. You want to make it long enough because it's going to go around this whole basket. It's going to go right here in this groove, and we're going to press it around just like this. I'm going to press it in that corner. And you'll notice I'm pressing it out enough to where we've got just a little bit coming out over this edge. So we're just going to continue to do this just like so. So this is the part that's actually going to go down in the sink on the top. This is a plumber's trick. It's pipe thread sealant. It's just a little extra something to help you not to have leaks. So you just paint it, paint the whole gasket, just like so. Here again, a lot of plumbers don't do this. It's just a little trick. And that's it. That's pretty much the prepping of your basket strainer. So the next thing we're going to do is take out the old basket strainer. Okay, here is the basket strainer we are going to be replacing. As you can tell, it looks pretty rough. And if you go around to the side, you can see that this nut here is cracked. So it's starting to leak. Luckily, it has not leaked into the bottom of the kitchen cabinet. We always like to put a towel and a pan or a little bucket to catch the water.
Okay, the first thing we're going to do is get this trap off. There's going to be a little water in there. Renee's got the pan like she said. I'm going to catch some of that. So that's that nut. Here's this nut. So let's lay the trap right there. Then we're going to take this nut off that retains the flange tail piece. Uh-oh. The whole basket strainer's turning, so Renee is going to have to go up top and hold down in the little holes in the basket strainer to keep it from turning.
which right here is what he's talking about.
Okay, so Renee's up top with her favorite little rigid tool that she loves so much. So hopefully she's gonna be able to hold that. Uh-oh, Miss Renee's not holding on to that just yet. What's going on up there, honey?
Well, apparently I'm gonna have to use a different tool.
You want to hold the tool with the channel locks? Why don't you try that?
Okay. Alright, let's go.
Alright, you ready?
Yep.
So hopefully we're going to get this off with not cutting it out with a Dremel. That happens a lot.
Okay.
That is not going to come off by unscrewing that, so we're going to have to get the Dremel and cut that nut off. Hey guys, so we're going to cut this. Of course, we have our safety glasses on, and definitely nothing flammable under here because this is going to throw sparks. So we're just going to take this Dremel and cut right here and try to split that nut off. So hopefully we can crack that nut off of there now and take a screwdriver and just split that off. It comes right off. We're going to try and get this nut off that actually retains the cup to the basket strainer itself. So you ready up there, Miss Renee?
I think I am.
All right, she's going to do the same thing. Try to hold on to that cup.
Oops. Sorry, go ahead.
And it also is corroded in there. Just run that Dremel up in there. I think that's all the way through. Let's see if we can get that. Oh yeah. Just get in there and try to split that nut open. It probably will turn right off of there. Nope. Hold on. We'll just try to crack it off completely. Maybe not. All right, there. All right, you got it, honey?
I do.
So,
as you can see, sometimes this is not as simple as it should be.
okay, so there's the nut coming off that holds the cup in. And I might have to gently, very gently get up in here and peel this cup off. The stuff's really corroded in here. You absolutely need to be careful not to damage your sink because you're putting some pressure up there. So there we go.
Yay, good job, honey.
Thanks.
So the next thing we're going to do is clean up our mess. And see how this has stuff all around the drain? We're going to clean that up. You can just use a little scrubby and a little bit of water, but just remember not to turn your water on because you don't have a drain in there, and then you'll make a big mess in the bottom of your sink. And yes, I'm talking from experience.
Never doubt me.
So we're gonna take a break and do that real quick. Okay, now we have the sink clean. You can see that I have cleaned this up here really good, and it's also clean underneath. We're going to take the top piece of the basket strainer that we put putty on earlier, and all we're gonna do is we're going to sit this down in here. I also want to say that we're gonna try to keep this drain in the center of this hole. So that's going to be my job up here. So what you do is you just press this down, and you see how that putty's kind of oozing out. That's what you want to do. And then you're going to get whatever mechanism, whatever tool that you want to hold the drain into place. I'm going to use the screwdrivers.
Okay, you ready up there?
I think I am.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get our gasket with the Teflon sealant towards the sink and put that up there. And then we're going to make sure that we have our friction washer next. That is going to keep that gasket from spinning which on a cup strainer, that's almost impossible. Then we're going to put our cup up there, and then we're going to get the nut that tightens the cup up. So like Renee was saying earlier, when you tighten this nut, it's just pushing that cup straight up, and it's going to squeeze that putty out from the top, and that's what's going to make the joint. Hopefully you guys can see it. I've got my arms out of the way, and I'm just going to tighten that nut. They actually make a cool little tool for this, but I just prefer channel locks because that's how I've been doing it for decades.
Because you're old school, aren't you, honey?
Yeah, I guess you could phrase it like that. How are we looking up there?
Looking good.
So Renee is going to make sure before we get super tight that that thing is centering the hole. And
Yeah.
all right, so you ready to keep going? Yep. All right. Okay, that seems very tight.
Okay, Joe's tightened underneath, and you can see where we have excess putty here. I just like to take the corner of my screwdriver and gently go around the drain and get the rest of that putty off. You know, you don't want to scratch your sink or your drain. You just got to be a little bit careful. Sometimes I take my fingernail and just go around it like that.
Okay, so we're ready to put everything back together. And also make sure that you guys know to use this top hat washer. If you don't use this, you're definitely going to have a leak at that joint. So the top hat washer goes on top of the tailpiece. And then you're just going to take your nut and tighten it on there. Really easy, not much to that. Take some channel locks and maybe turn that, snug it up just a hair. And then we've already got our nut and ferrule on our tailpiece. We'll slide this back, slide this up, and slide our trap up in here. And let's make sure that you see this ferrule has to be with the beveled side down towards the joint. If you have this upside down, you're probably going to have a leak. And lots of times these little ferrules will split or crack, and that will also cause that joint to leak. So we're going to slide this ferrule back down and snug this up. And then we're going to take our trap nut right here. And you see we got a little bit of pipe dope on that joint. I always like to dope these joints because they constantly hold water. And we're going to try to get this nut.
Sometimes you just got to hold your mouth just right, honey?
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get that nut back on there. We're going to push this nut back. So I kind of like to snug all this stuff up a little bit individually and get each one snug and then go back and really tighten them up one at a time, because if you get one super tight first before you snug the other ones, it might pull the other joints off a little bit and make the other nuts really hard to start. So that's the way that I do it. And we'll go back and just kind of tighten these up with channel locks a little bit.
Just like a quarter turn. It doesn't have to be super tight, or you'll crack that ferrule or you'll crack the nut.
And that's all there is to it except for the test.
Okay, now we have our new basket strainer all in. It's time for the test. So we've put water in the sink and we've let it sit here a few minutes. So we're going to pop the stopper, and then we're going to go underneath. And while the water was sitting, this is where you're going to, if you're going to have a leak, it's going to be leaking right here at this gasket. But the other common places that there could be leaks is here at this nut or these. So you just really want to pay really close attention to these areas. But looks like we did a good job, honey. As you can see, sometimes plumbing just don't go as smoothly as you would hope. But if you found this video helpful, Please be sure to give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.